Hi everybody, today we're going to go through the contents of the Mark IV Jetta kit. And we're going to go through everything that you get in that 8-foot box that gets delivered to you. It's pretty much everything you need except for the base Jetta to build a Smyth kit. So Cooper is going to be reading off the pack list as it appears, and then I am going to walk through each piece. I'm going to try to show you exactly where the part goes on the car as well. So go right ahead, Cooper. He's going to start at the top left corner of the pack list and move on down.
Number 1, CR Lawrence sliding rear glass.
The CR Lawrence sliding glass is in the kit. It's in this box right here. It's the black powder-coated aluminum sliding window that you put in the back of the rear glass here right behind your head.
Tailgate.
Tailgate is usually drop shipped in a separate package. So this is the Ford Ranger Splash tailgate. It comes in a slightly larger box. Check this one for damage when it arrives. If it looks like the box was crunched at all, double check it. If you ever do have to order another one, you just order a tailgate for the Ford Ranger Splash.
Extruded metal bed floor, 68.5.
The extruded metal bed floor, and I'll show you later what it looks like in the car, because there's a bunch of parts here. We don't have to move yet, Tim. The extruded metal bed floor are 3 pieces of extrusion. And this is it's a special hardened aluminum for the floor, main 3 sections of the bed. As you look at the car in the middle, this is the floor of the truck kit.
Left and right bed sides.
So the bed sides are the fiberglass parts that make up the bulk of the outside shape of the car. So I'm not going to really mount this, but this part here, I'm going to pull this off for you so you can see it. So there is a fiberglass bed side. It's a pretty big part. This one is I'll just set it here on the ground. That's the majority of the large fiberglass.
Left and right rail caps.
So the rail caps are these long aluminum plates. So the rail cap is just what we describe it as. It has one 90-degree bend on it, and it mounts on the rear side. So you have your bed side here, you have your fiberglass that sits on top of the bed side. This rail cap sits right on top of the rail to cover your nuts and bolts that are used to mount the fiberglass. So this whole piece sets right down on the rail.
Front wall is next.
The front wall is this part right here. The very front of the bed wall is an 1/8-inch panel that's cut. It has the Smyth logo in the middle, and it mounts just to the front edge of the old rear seat metal.
Front tray.
This is the front tray. And by front tray, this mounts between the 2 pieces of aluminum that form the bed side. So if I was to hold this, the fuel tank access port is on the right-hand side, or the passenger side. And this mounts just behind the front wall, a couple of inches above the seat floor.
B-pillar gusset, left and right.
The B-pillar gusset is this shaped plate that you see here. It has a couple of holes and tabs. This piece mounts between the outer fiberglass. Let's turn it on this way. There's a left and a right. This piece mounts basically just behind the front door, and this shape matches the fiberglass shape at the front. So this is that seal plate where you're kind of looking into the quarter panel from the front of the car. This will be your visual barrier, so you fill that gap between the fiberglass and the B-pillar right here.
C-pillar gussets.
C-pillar gussets on the Mark IV cars and the Mark V cars are an extra brace that mounts to the outside of the front wall here. You can see your front wall. They mount to the front wall, and they mount to the gutter where the old gasket would have been on the rear door.
Tailgate plate.
Tailgate plate. So on the tailgate, you saw your Ford Ranger tailgate. This is the tailgate plate. It has little pierces that line up, and it mounts to cover all of your latch hardware that you install inside the tailgate.
Tailgate cap.
The tailgate cap is a 1-inch by 1.5-inch bent part, and it looks just like an angle. It's just a plain 90. This piece, the longer end, mounts on the top of the tailgate. The shorter end mounts there. So it covers those holes that are on the top of the tailgate. It also provides a nice surface where this will get scratched up instead of your paint. So as you load things or use the truck, this keeps the paint from being damaged.
B-pillar fascia seal plate, left and right.
The fascia seal plate we talked about the fascia cover earlier. The fascia seal plate is right behind this, and it covers the little electric. You don't have to come over for this one, Tim. It's just a little oval plate, and it covers the little electrical pieces that are coming out of the B pillar that used to go to the rear door. So this just, you use adhesive and you just cover that plate so that air and noise can't come in. Carpet, this is just a roll. We give you a little extra black carpet. The carpet itself, you cut to the shape of the rear wall, and the two corners. The cool thing about this carpet is when you cut a seam and you join the seams together, the seam disappears pretty much. Black is wonderful that way, it just disappears.
Inner fender, left and right.
Come on over here now, Tim. These are the bulky items. The inner fender is mounted on the car right here, so this is what we call an inner fender. It's the TIGged aluminum piece. It looks like this. It's a pretty big piece. It's deceptively large, and you're going to be riveting this to the bed side. The bed side is the long aluminum piece that was right under the side cap over there. I think we went through it, but just in case, that's the long one that fits on the wheel well.
Roll pan bracket.
The roll pan bracket is a larger L piece. This piece is meant to trim off the top of the roll pan. So can the camera fit down here, Tim? So this piece is going to mount in between the two bed sides. You know, here's your right bed side, here's your left bed side. The roll pan is down here. It looks just like this. You'll recognize it has the license plate hole, you know, the license plate recess. This aluminum plate fits on top of the roll pan. And what it does is it helps you, gives you something to mount the roll pan all the way along the full width of it to the bed itself. This is the B-pillar electric seal plate. This is the B-pillar fascia plate. So the fascia plate is the one that covers the big hole, the opening between the quarter panel and the innards. The electric seal plate covers the little hole where the wires are.
Badge backing plate.
The badge backing plates, I give you a few different sizes. Where did I put those? This is a badge backing plate. When you have the Ranger splash tailgate, there are 3 holes on the right-hand side if you're watching that area. So whether you use the TDI badge, the Jetta badge, 1.8T, VR6, whatever your choice is for badging on the car, we give you these little aluminum plates. And the goal is you put your badges on the front, you use double-sided tape, and you cover those 3 holes so you don't have 3 holes showing through.
Left and right rear rail cap.
So when the body goes on top, this is a bed side right here. Then the fiberglass body sets on this bed side. Then you have the top plate, right? That top cover plate that we just showed you about. This is the back corner of that plate, and it mounts over. You'll see the earlier plate that we showed you ends about right here. This plate finishes it off and goes all the way to the back of the body. So that's the trim for the corner.
Floor bracket wide.
So the floor bracket wide and narrow. I'll show what these are. The C channel that supports, and this is one of the C channel pieces. You have a narrow one, and then you have wider ones that are spaced along the floor to support the weight of whatever you have in the bed. This is a wide plate. They mount to the floor. This is a narrow plate, and they mount sideways as described in the manual. So the two of them together, so on the right-hand side of the car, you've got a C channel. You're going to have one of these mounted to the floor, like this. You're going to have another one, let's do it your way here, one to the floor, one to the side. The C channel is in between, and then we use, and you'll see these later, these are the white spacers that go in the C channel. I'll show you how that works in a bit. So these are the supports for the rearward C channels. Forward bars are held by 4 of the big ones, the fat ones.
Front wall grommet plate.
Front wall grommet plate. The grommet plate, the very front aluminum wall has 2 lower pass-throughs. So there's 2 arches that are cut out so that the wires that lead to the back of the car can be lifted a little. This little plate is the plate that has 4 rivets or screws. You basically put the wire bundle in here, and you put this under the wires and then rivet it to the bottom corners of the front wall. You'll see a lot of pictures of that, but that's what it looks like.
Tailgate brace and adjustment plates.
The tailgate adjustment plate, does the camera reach down here, Tim?
Yeah.
So this corner of the car when you're installing the lights and the body is pretty flexible. This whole flat edge, you can pull in and out. This plate right here is the plate you use underneath the top corner. This one is already installed. When you get the distance between the two top edges that you like to line it up vertically, this plate is riveted on here to freeze that position and keep it adjusted.
Rear C channel to fender, unbent floor mount.
So the rear C channel here, this is our inner aluminum fender. It comes all the way to the back, and there's a flush mount right here. Can you zoom in, Tim, to see this corner? Underneath, so in order to mount the back edge of this aluminum fender, which is flat, in order to mount this flat edge to the flat edge of the C channel, we have to put, number one, a joiner plate. So underneath this plate, we have one of these joiner plates, and we have a spacer. And so the spacer goes on the leading edge like that. This whole assembly goes underneath this C channel and allows you to tie this back edge to the C channel.
Rear C channel to fender, spacer.
The smaller, narrow one is the spacer. That's the spacer, and that's the joiner plate.
Onto the aluminum channels previously discussed. C channel support welded 45.9.
Leave the camera over there. I'll show you what they look like. So these right here are the C channels I'm talking about. So this is a welded, TIG welded C channel. This thing mounts between the two rear ears, these two rear surface plates where the tailgate shuts, and these two pierces on the end you drill out to 5/16. So this is the shorter one for the back. There are two longer ones that fit further forward, and then there are two unwelded parts that you are going to use those L brackets for. So you're going to put the spacers inside, and then you're going to put the two L brackets, one on that side, one on the other, and then bolt it together. I'll show you which parts those are in a bit.
Window surround.
The window surround is the fiberglass piece that I have forward here. It's the piece that holds the rear window, and it goes forward all the way to the front door. You can't miss that part. It's a pretty big part, and it has the big window on it.
Side skirts or rocker panels, left and right.
So the body for the Mark IV, the Mark V does not have this. The Mark V has, we throw in for free, full side skirts that you mount in one piece. On the Mark IV, since the side skirt is molded into the left and right quarter panel, this piece mounts under the front door and ties in to the rear quarter panel so that the shape underneath the door is consistent from our piece in the back all the way front.
Bumper roll pan.
The roll pan we talked about. The roll pan is truck talk for the rear cover that has the license plate opening. It mounts on the outside edge and at the top with that aluminum L that we showed you earlier.
Left and right quarter panels.
The quarter panels I showed you, the big, huge black fiberglass quarter panel that has the tail light recess in it. You can't miss those. They're 7 feet long.
3/16 flush rivets.
The flush rivets are how we mount the fiberglass to the car and some of the aluminum. I don't know how close you can zoom in. The flush rivets have an absolutely flat top. The regular rivets, and you use these when you're mounting the rear window surround, the side sills, anything where you want that rivet to disappear and be recessed into the fiberglass, you use those rivets. The next rivets are the standard rivets, and they're use these for the B-pillar gusset, pieces like that. Just to go back, in case I missed it, this is called a B-pillar gusset. So this is the main gusset that goes behind the driver's door. So on this car here, can you see this over here, Tim? Is that still in the range of view?
Yeah.
So the B-pillar gusset fits immediately behind the door. This is that piece that you rivet into the gutter.
M6 Nylock Nuts.
So the Nylock M6s, these are two tiny little nuts. That sounds really funny. These two tiny little 6mm are used to mount the tailgate handle and the actuator. On the tailgate handle, there are two bolts, and you use those. Stop laughing. Use these two little nuts to mount the handle together. Everything's funny. That is funny.
M8 tailgate cable bolt.
The M8 tailgate cable bolts look like this. They have a special shoulder on them for the cable. Can you see that? close up. So those cable bolts are right out of the Ford Ranger. They have a star pattern. You use those bolts to mount the support cables on the Ranger tailgate. One of them mounts on the lower part of the hinge on the tailgate, and the other one mounts right under the striker is where the other one mounts, and then you mount the tailgate cables to those. The M8x20 stainless steel bolts are the workhorse. When we bolt all the panels together, that little stainless bolt is most of the structural mount on the car. And there's a ton of them because we use them everywhere.
M8x60 stainless steel bolts.
So the M8x60s are the same bolts. There's only 4 of them. They're a little longer, and they're meant to go through the C channel. So this ties the C channel, the spacer, and those 2 aluminum L brackets together. So the final mix, you have the 2 L brackets on the floor, you have this one holding everything together, and in the middle you'll use that C channel and the spacer.
M8 Nylock Nuts, zinc plated.
Same thing as the stainless steel ones. The zinc plated Nylocks are 8mm. Use these with the washers that are next.
M8 Jam Nuts.
Totally can't remember what the jam nuts are for. It's new, Mike just added it. I don't know what it is yet. I'll let you know.
1/4 inch by 20 by 1/2 inch socket button head.
The 1/4 by 20 button heads, they're a tiny little stainless screw. You want to tap these. They're very, the standard thread is because those are the most common tap sizes, but it's a 1/4 20 socket head stainless bolt. And that's what mounts this aluminum corrugated to the aluminum C channel. So you drill your pilot hole for your tap, you drill the hole through the aluminum extrusion a little bit bigger, and then you tap the hole in the C channel.
7 by 40mm JCBW brass plate head.
That's a hefty name for the taillight mount screws. These are the brass taillight mount screws. They're brass coated. I paint these. It's steel underneath. We just found out recently. It's steel underneath with a brass coating, so I paint these. The reason it's flat is because when you mount your taillights to the body, the tailgate cable has to swing in order to be effectively free to go up and down with the tailgate. And this flat head allows that cable to swing past it without catching.
1/4 inch washers used with the M8 bolts.
So the M8 bolts, there's a ton of these washers. Use them whenever you can. In general, don't use the washers if the threads of the nut don't reach the locking part of the nut. Usually I use one washer on the inside, one on the outside. Tighten it down, you're done.
Truss head sheet metal screws, 18 by 8.
The truss head sheet metal screws, they're in the kit. I don't use them. I tap even into the 1/8 inch front tray. These are meant, these tiny ones, are meant to mount the very, very leading edge of this aluminum extrusion to the 1/8 inch front tray. Since it's not as thick as the cross members, we include these because they're more of a light duty screw just to hold the leading edge down. I've been tapping lately that whole leading edge about 1 inch back with the same screws that we use, those stainless button head caps. I've been using those as well. It's up to you, whichever one you like, but we include those in case you just want to drill them in place.
Plastic or wood composite spacer.
These are those spacers that fit inside of the aluminum C channel.
Latches.
The latches are the spring latches. I'll open this one up so you can see. These mount inside the rectangular opening in the tailgate on the side. So, I'll position the tailgate and everything with these in. I take it off before painting, but this is the spring latch that slams into the striker to lock the tailgate in place.
Latch strikers.
Striker is the one that's mounted here on the car. So this is the rubber mount, is mounted forward. The striker comes in and locks the tailgate.
Tailgate hinge kit.
The hinge kit is the brass colored and the chrome colored hinges. The brass colored hinge with the rectangular little pivot there. This one mounts to the right hand or passenger side of the car. The mount itself mounts, this whole system here where the hinge is, mounts to the rear. Wrong, this is the front of the car here. Wrong, right. And this piece right here, the tailgate slides down onto and then goes up and down.
Plastic hinge liners.
The hinge liners are these plastic pieces you take, if I was to, I'll leave this one together. Basically, the round one goes on the driver's side or the left. and you push it into the metal socket at the bottom of the tailgate. The one with the prongs, you see this one here, the one with the opening, it's round and then there's a flat cutoff. That one mounts on the right-hand side or passenger side in the US, and that allows the plastic to interfere with the metal-to-metal hinge and gives you a silent hinge for the Ranger tailgate.
Remote link rods.
Remote link rods are really not rods anymore. We custom cut a 3/8 inch rod. This piece here, the hook end hooks into the latch, the center bolts to the center actuator, and when you pull the handle, it opens the latch.
Tailgate handle.
Tailgate handle is just that. It's a black tailgate handle. It has those two bolts on it that have the 2 6mm.
Tailgate support cable.
Tailgate support cable, we try to use the universal ones. Every now and then we have to go, the tailgate support cable, the round cable goes to the hole just below the striker, or no, the spring mount, I'm sorry, the spring mount with the tab goes on the bolt right below the striker. The round one you bolt onto the tailgate. This round end bolts to the tailgate and stays bolted on the tailgate, is not removable. This one is removable, and you can push the tab and pull the tailgate off in a couple of seconds.
Tailgate actuator.
The actuator is the center of the tailgate. This is how you, when you pull, your handle bolts through these two holes. You put your hand on this side, the actuator in the middle, and when you pull the handle, it moves the rods and pulls the hinges so you can open your tail.
Taillights.
Taillights are Ford Explorer Sport Track taillights. They come in both smoke and standard red, depending on the year of your kit and when it was shipped.
Taillight assembly. We have license plate LEDs.
The license plate LEDs are small LEDs that mount in the top holes of your license plate. We use two motorcycle ones. Rather than having a separate big light that doesn't fit in the roll pan very well, we use these in the top right above the license plate. I've been using a riv nut to mount these in place so that I can twist it out and change my plate easier, but there are nuts and an aluminum threaded shaft there.
Reverse and turn bulb.
So the reverse bulb is a very bright LED. It's about 1/2 inch in diameter. It looks yellow when you look at it. You mount that. I have one here that's mounted. You drill a 1/2 inch hole or so, 10mm hole, and you put the reverse LED, and so we double up. So this is not just the turn signal indicator, it's also the reverse light because we have an LED below the regular light.
Reverse and turn socket.
Reverse socket, the one that goes up by the LED, is the green one, and we give you the sockets and the pins.
Parking stop socket.
The parking stop socket is the white one. That's for the parking light. So the reverse, the green one goes up here. The white one goes down here. They only fit in one socket, so you can't get them wrong.
Bulb stop.
Bulb, the stop and parking bulbs, I just wrap in paper
parking.
like this. They're clear or amber. The turn signals are the amber ones that are push fit. The parking lights and the stop lights are the clear ones. So solder shrink. The crimp connectors are, you heat them up with a heat gun and the solder melts in the middle, and you crimp, you heat it, so the outside seals, the middle solders, one of the coolest, most expensive ways to join wires, but we include that in the kit. And then in that same package, you'll see the little flag terminals that we use. In this green socket, you'll see 2 push pins. The plug that fits in here is very, very sporadically available from Ford, so we decided just to get rid of it. You push the terminals, the flag terminals on there, you fill this with silicone, that's your turn signal socket.
Female flag push-on terminal.
Those terminals I was just talking about, the female flag push pin terminals are like a blade connector, but they're 90 degrees, they fit inside here.
Reverse LEDs. Reverse
LEDs I talked about, they have the yellow, bright, larger LED.
Compressible rubber bumpers.
This is a relatively new ad. So in the early kits, we used to have just a plastic sleeve that you would cut down. This is a compressible rubber bumper. You cut the end off the bumper, and as you tighten your brass bolt, this is the spacer between the brass bolt and the aluminum and your taillight. So you can adjust the in and out dimension of the taillight using these rubber bumpers. And that's it. So any questions, obviously, feel free to always call the tech support line, whether it's Mark Smith, myself, or Michael Gallant, the other engineer. That's all of the contents of the Mark IV kit. The Mark V has differences, but they're minor. The biggest one being the sills. Instead of cutting the sills in half, you keep the sill all one big length. Everything else is pretty much the same. The Mark V adds plexi windows, a few little details for that rear quarter window, and that's about it. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Cooper. Thank you, Timmy. And that is our Mark IV package content video.